Number one Ibble Dibble here. Welcome to my review of Tom Bower's Revenge. Chapter 2, School, Part 4, Internalized Melanzonery. Race was not deemed to be an issue at the Little Red School, nor at the private girls' Catholic Immaculate Heart School, which she entered just before her 12th birthday. Her battle with Procter & Gamble, Thomas discovered during the interview, was a major influence on winning a place at the school. According to Thomas Markle, Doria did not come to the interview and visited the school only once before Meghan's graduation ceremony. 30% of the school was white. The majority of pupils were multinational, mixed race, or black. Race didn't come up all that much, recalled Christine Knudsen, a white teacher. It's not a big deal simply because our school is so diverse. Since Doria only came to the school once, most assumed Meghan was Italian. Okay, let's pause. So when people say now that they assumed Meghan was Italian or Jewish or whatever, I understand, though I don't agree. She has done a lot to change her face since she was a kid, and much of that was bankrolled by Thomas Markle when she was a teenager. It's very clear when you look at her pictures that he paid for her top 4 veneers and a nose job. That said, when she first entered this Catholic school, she certainly did not look Italian. 0 Italian grandmas dropped in the middle of some horrible keynote speech at an award ceremony would have walked up to this little girl and asked her to translate. When people talk about dark and sexy Italians, they are talking about this. If you had said her friends thought she was Moroccan, sure. Tunisian? Yes. Algerian? Yeah. Italian? Why is it so difficult to give the girls she went to school with a crumb of credit and say that they knew she was half black and didn't care? The school's photographer, John Lugalecki, who regularly visited, recalled that Meghan, in his experience, noticeably never associated with Afro-American children and was not considered mixed race by her own peers. Her closest friends were white. Okay, Tom. I appreciate that the photographer was around enough to see who little Meghan was in a clique with, but he's not a psychologist, he's not a sociologist. How in the world would he know if or that her peers didn't consider her mixed race, whatever that means? This strains credulity. Race did become an issue when, aged 12, she was asked to complete in her English class a box to identify her ethnicity. There I was, my curly hair, my freckled face, my pale skin, my mixed race, looking down at these boxes, not wanting to mess up, but not knowing what to do. You could only choose one, but that would be to choose one parent over the other, and one half of myself over the other. My teacher told me to check the box for Caucasian, because that's how you look, Meghan, she said. I put down my pen, not as an act of defiance, but rather a symptom of my confusion. I couldn't bring myself to do that, to picture the pit in her belly's sadness my mother would feel if she were to find out. So I didn't pick a box. I left my identity blank, a question mark, an absolute incomplete, much like how I felt. When I went home that night, I told my dad what had happened. He said the words that have always stayed with me. If that happens again, you draw your own box. If memory serves, this is the first anecdote I ever read about Meghan that actually bothered me before not thinking or caring about her for years. To be crystal clear, I have no problem with her race or ethnicity, however she chooses to identify. I also have no doubt that baby Meghan had some sort of racial identity crisis. However, I am her age, and I remember filling out these government forms in school too. And I remember there always being a fuck you box. In the 80s, in the 90s, there has always been, while I've been alive, a fuck you box. It's what I still proudly check today. What is the fuck you box? Well, it says other/do not wish to disclose and has an empty line for you to write in whatever you want. But just to check myself before I wrecked myself, I looked up the California population census from 1990 to double check the categories. They were box number 1, white, box number 2, black, box number 3, American Indian, Eskimo, or Aleut, box number 4, Asian or Pacific Islander, box number 5, the fuck you box. Off to the side, there were 2 more boxes, Hispanic origin or not of Hispanic origin. Now, many people did both check a box and fill in the blank space in order to be represented. There were 267 Tahitians counted in the 1990 California census, 411 Okinawans. If you wanted to get specific, they would count you. And out of the entire state population of 29,760,021 people, a full 3,939,070 people checked the fuck you box with 0 further information. And Meghan could have as well. In 1990, there certainly weren't almost 4 million aliens from outer space living in California. There was definitely no need to draw her own box for any reason. Another thing that struck me the very first time I read this story was the thing about her teacher telling her she looked white. Of course, there are stupid, insensitive, racist teachers unaware of the law in existence. I'm not arguing all teachers are wonderful. I am arguing that all teachers have eyes. If you saw this child, would you say that? Upon rereading the anecdote, it strikes me as slightly strange that the way she describes her mixed race characteristics, all of those traits could simply be those of white people. You know, she's talking about her freckles. She's not talking about her wide nose or something. She calls her hair curly. She doesn't call it nappy. She doesn't call it 3C. She highlights to us that she had pale skin, even though looking at the picture, I don't know if I'd consider it particularly pale. To me, it seems obvious that she was going in a direction with this. And what struck me as so strange is that she expected everybody to get on board with her. Like, she genuinely expected to gaslight an entire generation of Americans. I wondered who her audience was. Was this for the Brits who weren't familiar with how things work in America? Or I just didn't get it, honestly. What do you think? Whose heartstrings was she trying to pull? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be doing a chapter a day to keep the corgis away. Toodaloo!